But right now, we have a special guest on. You may remember him from his time in WWF, now WWE, as the Wild Man Marc Mero. You may remember him. He was a Golden Globes competitor, and maybe you saw him recently. He was on Long Island doing his motivational speaking tour, the BAD tour, Be Against Destructive Decisions, and that's Marc Mero. Marc, thank you for joining us on Over the Top Sports Radio.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Well, doing excellent, and thank you so much for giving us a couple of minutes. I saw on your Twitter that you said it's time for vacation. Looks like you're just wrapping up this portion of your tour, and you're spending the morning with us, so I appreciate it. But, look, over 250 events. Before we get into your wrestling, talk to us a little bit about this BAD tour and what you've accomplished so far.
It's just been an incredible journey. This was our 11th year presenting at schools, middle school, high school, colleges, churches, corporations all around the world. I mean, we even went to Russia and spoke at schools in Russia. So it's just been an incredible journey. We do, anywhere from 250 to 300 events a year, and it's just they say when you find your passion, you never have to work. So I guess I look at it as I've been unemployed for the last 11 years.
And Marc, how does somebody, go from wrestling to you have a YouTube video? It looks like it was put up by DDP Yoga, the emotional Mother's Day story that that you share with everyone that has 1,607,791 views, where you mentioned that you've overdosed 3 times, where you should have died, to now being such an accomplished, inspirational speaker. How does something like that happen? That transition?
Well, we all have a story. We all been through adversity in life, and I think when you've been through something, you understand it. Whether it's addiction or whether it's a broken heart, the loss of a loved one, a divorce, or whatever it is, that those experiences can be used to help other people going through the same thing that maybe never experienced it before. And having a story, I decided to share it. And, it was just amazing how the impact it had on students and people. Whenever I told this story, I would get letter after letter. And it just turned into a whole company. We have this nonprofit organization called Champion of Choices, and got an amazing staff. And it's just been great.
It's well known, Marc, that when you first signed with WWE, you and Sable weren't well liked in the back, maybe because it was the guaranteed contract or whatever, and you had to deal with almost some bullying yourself. Do you feel like now that you're addressing this with young students with bullying, that you've almost come full circle now?
In a way, it's really funny because there's we call bullying or abuse or whatever you want to call it, and whether it's in the workplace, whether it's at school, whether it's in your own home, we see it all over, and especially now with social media, where people could be behind a computer or a cell phone and say things they normally wouldn't say in front of somebody. And it's just been exasperated to the point where I'm seeing so many young people taking their lives over bullying. And, I've been to 2 schools this year. One had 6 suicides. One had 7 suicides. Wow. And it just breaks your heart when you think that the kids that are going through this bullying that feel like there's no hope and they just don't want to deal with it anymore and they end their life.
You've been doing this, obviously, for a long time. You said 11 years. Is there a story that you might want to share, one that sticks out that maybe you talk to somebody? You always talk about changing lives, and especially on your Twitter feed. Is there a story about maybe a life that you guys touched that sticks out to you that maybe makes this all worth it, all the time that you put into it worth it?
Oh man, I got a quick one I could share with you guys. This beautiful girl, her name is Casey, and she wrote me this short letter, and I'll read it to you because I have it right in front of me. She said, "I had pills in one hand and a drink in the other. I had enough to end my life. I was ready to leave. I was ready to leave all because I didn't fit in. I felt unwanted, like I wasn't supposed to be around, like I was God's mistake. I looked on Facebook one last time and saw your video about your mom. I looked at your page, and with tears rolling down my face, I put the pills away and read your post. This was 10 minutes ago. If it wasn't for that video, I'd be filled with pills on my way to see God. Thank you."
Wow. That's awesome, inspirational. I don't even know how to react to it.
That's what makes it worthwhile, guys. That's what makes it worthwhile, knowing
people like us. I mean, in our 30s too, we hear that too, and you're never too old to maybe have those type of thoughts too. It's not just the kids in the high school, and you hear that, and it's never too late, I guess, and you kind of see that to where you might have one of those feelings that no matter any age, and it's definitely hard to hear that, but thankful for you, and I'm sure that young lady is too.
Well, I'm on my way to Fort Benning. I'm speaking at Fort Benning next June 11th to the troops there. And I spoke at Fort Bragg, and we do a suicide prevention with the soldiers, which is so important because a lot of our soldiers are also going through, whether it's PTSD or suicidal thoughts or things like that really help them.
That's great inspirational stuff there you have, Mark, honestly, and that's great work by you that you can touch people like that, and people need that, honestly. Let's talk about your time in the ring. In WWF, you started as the Wild Man Marc Mero, and later you turned into Marvelous Marc Mero. Did you make these characters yourself? Was those your ideas, or did Vince kind of assign them to you?
Well, the Wild Man was brought up by creative when I first got there because we couldn't use the Johnny B. Bad character from WCW. And it was, it was just sat around a table and kind of kicked around ideas, and they came up with some drawings and things, and it was very difficult because I really didn't understand the whole Wild Man character. I mean, was I from the jungle? Was I like Tarzan? What was it, So it was a little confusing, and it never really caught on. And, of course, when Sable had such a great run and really got over, we decided to turn me the heel and became the Marvelous Marc Mero based off of my old boxing character.
And part of that heel turn, honestly, where you were the guy and you were kind of feuding with Sable, kind of being, the guy that doesn't let her do things and be herself, was one of the big parts of the WWE really moving towards that attitude era, especially with Sable kind of starting to defy you and be more independent and then, taking it to the next level as far as maybe the rating of the show goes.
Yeah, it was all a planned thing. When people say, well, gosh, why would you let her power bomb you, or why would you let her do this and that? This was all, storyline written. It wasn't like nobody made us do anything. But, at that time, it was like, man, they were backing up the Brinks truck to our house. It was, when you think about that you're going to do this for so many years and you're going to live the rest of your life, but unfortunately, life doesn't always go as we planned. So, but, at the time, it was, I wouldn't have changed anything. I look at all the paths I took in life, and they ended up to where I am right now, and I'm so glad that, I have no regrets. I have no animosity or bitterness towards anybody, and I'm just so thankful of where I'm at now in life.
And you and Sable had quite a history. What's your relationship like with Sable today? Well,
we have a daughter, our daughter Mariah, who's 28 now. It was, we share a daughter, we share a granddaughter, and so, wow. There's no animosity. There's nothing, no bitterness, no resentment, no anger, nothing. I'm so happy for her and Brock and their kids, and I have I have a wonderful wife, and I'm living a life that I've always dreamed of having.
And obviously, your time in WWE and your popularity and your name from there has helped you with what you're doing now, and I'm sure that was a big help. But other than that, because now you're saving lives right now, and that's probably the greatest accomplishment. But other than that, do you have an accomplishment or a moment from WWE that stands out as maybe your greatest accomplishment, your greatest match? Was it winning the Intercontinental Championship? Was it a rivalry or a special moment that sticks out to you?
Obviously, when you win a championship, it's something you always remember, because the company is really putting their faith into you at that time, and it was beating guys like Owen Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Ron Simmons to win the belt was a wonderful accomplishment. But I remember some of the great matches I had there. King of the Ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin was one of my favorites when I was with WWE. I had some really good ones with Triple H. British Bulldog in South Africa is one I'll always remember. We really had a great match out there. So there's some really good memories from that, and those are the things I choose to really, when I think about my wrestling career or when I was with WWE, those are the things I choose to remember.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I could totally be wrong on this, but I had read that you enjoyed your time more with WCW than WWE. Is that true?
Well, what it was is I enjoyed the character. I mean, Johnny B. Bad was so opposite of who I am, you know, and it was like fun to be this outrageous knucklehead, you know. So that was kind of fun, you know, and you know, it was because WWE was very difficult when, you know, being the first guy to get a guaranteed contract, bringing your wife in, traveling with your wife, and when these guys miss their families and so on. So there was a lot of resentment. And but I didn't really like when you're going through it, you don't really see it. But when you look back on your career, you can say, "Oh, I can see where guys were pissed off at me or didn't like me."
So this is Over the Top Sports. Can you give us something over the top about Marc Mero that we don't know? Maybe a backstage story, something in the ring, something we don't know that is a little over the top.
Oh my gosh, a little over the top. Well, you know, one of the things that I think people don't realize is that when I was younger, I was a really good athlete, and one of the things I loved to do in the summer was I loved to go to hit the diving boards at the pool, or the lake had a really cool diving board called Green Lakes in Syracuse, New York, and that's where I learned those silly moves like the Mero salt, or the move where I'd face in the ring, spin around and hit the ropes, and then do a moonsault. You know, those are things I learned from a diving board when I was a kid.
Wow.
And the craziest thing was to bring it to
I would jump off the diving board and pretend to do moves too into the pool. It was the only way I would know I wouldn't get hurt. It never turned into a career for me though.
Well, the funny thing was when I first did the Wild thing, the Shooting Star Press, I was on Gold Dust, and it was at SummerSlam, and I'd never done it before, but I knew I could do it off the diving board, you know. And I said it to Dustin. I said, "Hey, listen, I got this new move I want to try." And he looked at me with the biggest eyes, and he goes, "Hey, man, just go for it." And I just showed him I got to do a Samoan drop in the corner, then I'm going to go up the top rope and do this crazy move. And he allowed me to do it, and we nailed it. But, you know, when I look back on that, the thinking that I'm doing this live at SummerSlam, you know, whether it's 10,000 or 15,000 people that were there, I can't remember, but and then people seeing it all over the world, and knowing it's going to be on video the rest of my life, and getting on slippery ropes. Once when you wrestle, the guys have oil all over them, so the ropes are real slippery to stand on them, you know. And to get up there and try that move, and if I think about it now, it would be like, wow, I was really crazy to try this.
So it's funny how, you know, things like that evolve, and you look back and it worked, and it's why you were so successful there. Last question from me before Vinny has one last one for you is sometimes you see the cameo, the random appearance, the shocking appearance at a Royal Rumble or a show, or any chance we ever see Marc Mero one more time in the ring again?
You know, I sure, you know, not to wrestle. I mean, I have no desire to wrestle anymore, but you never know. You know, I guess, you know, I always learned that you never say never. You never know what happens in life, but, you know, I always hope that WWE would have gotten more behind our school program as we're changing and saving lives with the anti-bullying messages that we have at schools, but unfortunately that hasn't happened. But it's okay. I don't lose any sleep over things like that. It would have just been good to have a relationship that we could have gone out together and change and save lives with kids.
You're the motivational speaker. I'm going to ask you for a motivational speech here. I am hungover this morning. Give me a motivational speech to cure my hangover.
Well, you know, I always say that we become who we surround ourselves with. So if you're out there with a lot of people drinking or partying, we tend to do that ourselves. So it might be a good idea to think about who you're going to go out with next time or where you're going to go. But it's always tough. I remember many days like that, like how you feel right now. I've had many days like that. But for you to admit it and talk about it, that's the first step to recovery.
Absolutely.
All right, well, Mark, I mean, some of your stories have been awesome. We looked into it as Marc Mero, the wrestler, found out a lot more about you as a person, what you've done. You're doing a great job with your bad tour, Be Against Destructive Decisions. Hopefully when you come out to Long Island next year, I know you're on Long Island this year, maybe we can get out there, meet up with you and see some of it. But you're doing a great job for a lot of people, and we also thank you for the beginning of your vacation, spending some of it with us.
Guys, you're awesome, man. And you know what? I'm in Long Island quite a bit on our tour, and we will be in many schools there next year too. So it'd be great to meet you guys in person.
It'll be awesome. We'll keep a lookout for your schedule, and hopefully we can make that happen. So thank you so much, and I hope to
guys,
catch up with you soon. Best of luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you so much, and God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Marc Mero, a former WWF superstar, now doing much bigger things out there with his program that he's doing. Check out his Twitter. It's just his name, Marc Mero. He's got links there to the organization he works with. He got motivational tweets all the time. Maybe he can help you through a tough time. He's helped a lot of other people. Doesn't matter how old you are. So great job by him.
And there's a video on YouTube, which I mentioned, and it has 1,607,791 views. It's called Marc Mero's Emotional Mother's Day Story. And it's definitely worth the watch. So everybody, maybe Goon could put that up on our page right now. It's on YouTube, Goon. Put that up on our Twitter page. Put it up on Facebook. Worth the 5 minutes and 51 seconds of your time.
Try to get him some more follows. So, yeah, definitely not, what you typically get from a wrestling interview from us, but definitely worth hearing the story.
Absolutely.
Good guy, doing everything. Great cause. It's nice to see something like that.
Definitely.
Hopefully we can meet up with him soon.